Hey guys, and welcome to Fez Air Software. Today I'm going to disassemble this SRC SR4 ST Falcon ZS. Hi guys, and welcome back. If you do enjoy this content today, please do like, comment and subscribe because you're going to help me out and help the channel grow, which is doing really quick at the minute. It's absolutely amazing. If you do want to be a member of the channel, it's only 99p a month. You get bloopers and outtakes. Occasionally there'll be a members only video. There's custom icons, custom emojis and a private chat in my Discord, which if you're also not on Discord, please do consider coming and joining us. The link is down below to visit all of that stuff. So I've got the Falcon here and we're going to get to disassembling this and having a look at what's inside it. So we'll go for the suppressor first, which we looked at before. That comes off, just 14mm negative thread. Next thing I think we're going to have to remove this QD sling point here. Flip that over. So I'm using a 2.5 hex bit. That's just remove that. And then we've got a push pin here, releases that, and the outer slides off. So we've got a bit of a weird gas block thing and a barrel nut, which even that looks I believe that's even plastic in there. So you've got a little bit of an metal outer barrel in there. You've got this weird gas block thing, but basically that should be a stereotypical thread under there that just basically needs this device removing, which it looks like. I don't think I've got the right armourer's wrench for that. No, I can't get those in. Ooh. No. Let's see if I can get my grips on it. Oh yeah, there we go. So, did the grips. That is a fairly standard looking airsoft sort of attachment point there. So if you wanted to change the front end, it wouldn't be particularly difficult for you to do that. Tighten that back down. That just slides back on again. The gap in the sort of barrel nut is for the pin. That's back on and the suppressor can go back on. Next thing we'll do then, we'll drop the front pin out and we'll split the two halves. So there goes the pin. Lift that up. Probably gonna have to pull the charging handle to lift it over this notch on the back there. Not the greatest quality looking gearbox, but that doesn't always necessarily mean anything from the looks there. So we've got our barrel and hop unit there. We've gone sort of rotary style, but like quite a traditional sort of little front spring there. So let's have a look. Let's turn that all the way up. Oh, that's nice. It's got numbers on the, which way we're going up, that way. So we're all the way up to what is basically equivalent of hop 8. So that is maximum hop. Now I'd say you're definitely going to lift a 2.5 on that. I did find I had to put an awful lot of adjustment on to get it to lift anything at all. So I would have thought if you're going to fire anything heavier than a 0.25 gram BB, you're probably definitely going to need something better in terms of hot rubber in there. Or a tensioner, a better quality tensioner in there. Oops, easy. Just roll that back down. So there is a little O-ring on there, two little rubber O-rings on there. I assume those are just to help stabilize it, and that's going to go I wonder if they're from the far end. But I've pulled them through. So those were causing issues to go back in. Whereas when I've taken them off, that's not sitting right. Is it down to that? more like it. Right, let's try that again. So I'm not entirely sure what this rubber O-ring is for, but it was up against there. And there is another little O-ring as well. Put them back on. I'm not going to say what that looks like I'm doing. Slide that back in. Yeah, it really doesn't like that at all. There we go. It must sit further on into the outer barrel, because now I've worked it in a little bit, it's actually ended up in the right place. That's fine. Next then we'll come to the stock. We'll fully extend the stock and get that out of the way. We'll remove the battery hatch. Now on this one, we've got a hex head screw in there. It's quite a beefy screw. I need a number 3 hex head or Allen key head to do that. So there comes that out. Is that actually going to fit? Oh yeah, just tight fit through there, but the battery connector goes through that little hole there. You can't really, unless that comes out of the back of there, and it's cast into that plastic, I believe. Basically, without this thing here, you can't put any other stock on it. You're stuck with this particular model. You're stuck with that stock. But we are then into our quick change spring system. So push in, quarter turn. There's quite a substantial meaty metal spring guide in there with a bearing on it, which helps keep our spring sort of in good condition, because as the spring compresses, it's sort of trying to twist and unwind, which will help it. You can see there is a blue piston that looks suspiciously a little bit like a SEMA blue piston, but it does look like that there is full metal teeth on there. So let's get this pistol grip off and have a look. In fact, we'll start actually with the mag release. So just going to, on this one, we've got a little Phillips head screw in there, which doesn't want to take that one. There we go. I do like when the quick release spring systems, just because it means that you can remove all of the sort of pressure in the gearbox before you even have to open it. So short one at the front on the base plate of the pistol grip. Short one at the back as well. Wiggle that about, there goes the base plate. Now they've gone for a grub screw. That could have been an easy fix, just have a bigger screw in there. There's your little spacer. Right, let's separate that. So the red terminal's at the front, as we usually find in airsoft M4. Black is at the back. There's the motor, just generic. Does look a little bit like them high-speed motors that are in the SEMA Platinums. We've got 2 screws down there. Both those screws at the usual top left and bottom right. Wiggle the pistol grip up and off. There goes the pistol grip. Then we've just got 2 pins left. Got this trigger pin here, which might be pushing out the wrong way. Yep. So the trigger pin teeth are on the left hand side of the receiver, so as you're looking down the gun, it needs to come out this way. And then we've got the rear body pin as well. I mean, must hand it to SRC. It's definitely come apart very quickly, very easily. We've got a fairly typical looking selector plate. There goes the body. You've even got like the screw mountings for the old style two-piece hop-ups that they used to have. Your thingy release is just for decoration only, which we discovered. Now, the piston, I don't know if you can see that, notice that, but the piston is moving left and right. And there is a bit of showing a rub in there, but we'll see what the compression's like once we're in there. You've got metal bushings on there as well, it's not bearing based. Little bit of movement in the bevel gear in terms of shimming, so there is some shimming in there, I hope, we'll find out in a minute, but not the best of shimming. What I will say is that clearly, obviously there's reinforcements around here to obviously beef up the gearbox and make it a lot more solid. Version 2s are historically prone to the front cracking off, which if you're going to build a DSG build, version 2 gearboxes are not always the best because of those weaknesses. Version 3, which you get in like MP5Ks, not normal MP5s, just the Ks, and AKs and G36s, are far stronger by design, so make them better suited to DSG builds, dual sector gear builds, which are like the lightning quick, super fast rates of fire, otherwise known as piston destroyers, because they will regularly, it's hard to get reliability out of a DSG build. So we'll split this gearbox then. So there is definite evidence of some shimming going off in there. There is a MOSFET system there, and it looks like it's possibly glued in wiring down here. The 22 indicating that it's 22-to-1 gear set, as we found out from the unboxing, the literature on the website. So there is definitely evidence of shimming in here. We have got a full metal tooth piston. The gear set looks nothing amazing or special. Let's just have a look at that. So let's see what the compression is like. So we've got plastic piston head, metal teeth piston, I believe double O-ring cylinder head. Wow, let's see what that compression is like. Absolutely excellent. Let's see what it's like with the air nozzle on, because often that can be a different story. Not as good, but I wouldn't expect it, but there's still air compression there. There is still air pressure there that it's, you know, fighting against me. We have got a very stereotypical M4 trigger block, so if you were to want to put in a gate tighten, that will be entirely possible in this gearbox. If you wanted to put in a V2 optical by per run, also totally acceptable. This area in the gearbox looks like it's been enlarged to accommodate this MOSFET. I don't think the MOSFET does anything in particular, but let's just have a quick check of the manual. No, it does nothing. It's just a typical MOSFET, which basically it puts a tiny amount of current through the contact. So when it detects the trigger pull, the MOSFET activates and allows the battery to provide the power directly to the motor instead of going via the trigger block. They've put this red, I assume sort of like a thread lock glue all over the wiring to keep it neat and down, which works, but looks a little bit messy. It looks like they've got a little bit elsewhere in the gearbox. I'll clean that up later. The sector gear is pretty big and beefy. You know, the gear set doesn't look absolutely amazing and outstanding, but it does look solid. You know, the finish on them, I suppose, and you shouldn't judge a book by how it looks. You know, the finish on them is not great, but they look absolutely solid. I can't see them being an issue, and in our test fires and things, they were absolutely fine. So largely, it's a standard M4 gearbox, AR gearbox, so we'll take any variety of parts that you might wish to use. So we'll get on with reassembly then. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that the sector gear teeth are away from the piston. I'm going to put the tappet plate spring back on there like that. I'm going to make sure that the hoop here is down low so I can get it well onto this post at the front here. I've got the piston sat back in its tracks there, running up and down nicely. The cylinder's in its position. It does bother me that there's a little bit of wiggle room in there for it to move about, but it's obviously not causing too many issues. Next, I'm just going to push open the anti-reversal latch. Now, oh, that's a nice feature. There is a split in the top there, so it means I can, if I want, get a thumbnail, or I can get a little screwdriver if I wasn't floating the gearbox up in the air and I'm not moving shims. Ow. Let's pop that open. I can use a screwdriver to keep it open, basically, to help me with rebuilding it. So I'm just going to make sure that those are all sat safe. I'm going to wind that around a little bit. So usually when I put a gearbox back together, I like to make sure that the notch that pulls on the tappet plate isn't quite about to engage with the tappet plate, and it just helps to keep pressure over everything. Make sure that this spring is pushed all the way down. Make sure that it's moving freely, which it is, and I can see it is. Pistons in everywhere. MOSFET stays down in its gap, and we'll get this other side back on. I'm just going to reposition to some of these shims because they've moved and they're causing the gears to not go back into the gearbox shell. So as I'm putting them in, the trigger safety there was in the way. Clamp it down a bit more. I'm just going to use a screwdriver just to position things, move them about a bit. And it can be fiddly, and this is possibly one of the worst parts of teching is reassembling the gearboxes. And now I can screw it back down together again. Now that's back assembled, we'll get this back in the receiver and we'll get the spring and everything back in. So drop the spring in, get the spring guide in, push in and a quarter turn, and it should come back flush with the back of the gearbox there. Quite a nice easy rebuild this. Is that famous last words? The other model of this does have an AR style stock, so I would assume that either the body itself that they've used is different, or there's some sort of adapter on the back here that basically works with AR style stocks. So I'm just going to position the gearbox so I can get the rear body pin in, so that just comes in from that side and clicks in. I'm going to put the trigger pin back in as well. Make sure it's all lined up. Tap that back in. That went in nice. Ooh, nearly. It is difficult floating these up in the air and trying to do this. So I'm just going to feed that unit back in. So I put the power wire in through the bottom. That sits in there. There's the screw we needed. Drop that in there. Tighten that down. Perfect. That can go in there. That can go in there. It's coming together. I'll drop the mag release in, switch it over, drop the spring in, and the button. And then I'll screw that back in. we go. Nice and secure. The tapping is just the bolt release tapping on there. Next thing, we'll get the pistol grip back in, making sure that the wires here are down and out of the way of the motor pinion gear coming in. This bit of reinforcement's quite nice around the pinion gear. One, tightening these pistol grip screws down. Two. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the black wire to this side. This red wire, I'm going to run round the edge of the pistol grip. And I just want it to come up the back, quite rigid wires. I don't want to go exactly where I want to go there, but that's fine for now. The red terminal, then it's a little plus symbol, is going to go to the front like that. Those wires are crossed over. Make sure that the motor can free move up and down in there before you start plugging anything in, just otherwise you might have a wire nicked somewhere. And then it's a case of just positioning the wires out of the way so that the base plate can go on, not forgetting the little adjustment plate, which will do that, and jump for no reason other than it wants to. Push that in. It should easily go flush now with a pistol grip and sit in nicely. You shouldn't have to force it. If you're having to force it, then there's something not right. You're probably nipping a wire somewhere. Tighten those down. Pistol grip's done. Get the stock on. Job's good then. Slide that in. Pull the charging handle, and it should go flush. There we go. Front body pin in. Back together. We'll get the suppressor back on. Which nicely locks itself out there. And then last job is to screw this back in. So I hope you've enjoyed that and found it useful. Internally, the cylinder's a little bit wobbly, which I can't make my mind up if that bothers me or not. Let me know what you think about that. Generally, good compression, decent enough performance in terms of rate of fire and things like that. I will provide a link down below to the, obviously, unboxing and everything. Fairly standard design choices, which is nice. The fact that you can flip between AR mags and the SMG mags as well, I think is actually quite a nice little touch, that. And particularly when the flavour of the moment at the minute seems to be these 9mm AR types. That I do like what they've gone with here. Maybe not my personal choice, but it does look like a fairly well built piece of kit. Let me know down below. So I hope you found that useful. Please do remember to like, comment and subscribe. If you want to be a member as well, that will be massively appreciated. I really appreciate it. And if you do, please tell me down below in the comments that you've signed up so I can thank you personally for it. It means a lot to me. And I will see you next time. Bye.